big talker. It's Bernard Lambotte, and I'm the owner and operator here at Black Sand Knives.
It is Tuesday morning. Now Bernard actually lives in San Diego, so what we're doing is we're gonna drive down there to go to his shop and pick his brain about what it is that he likes in a knife and his process for making it. Now, what Bernard had told me is that, I said to him, what can I bring to work on a project with you? And he said, bring a billet or any steel that you want, but it has to be 3 millimeters thickness. So I took that same steel that we made earlier and I had to reforge it out because I was at 6 millimeters and now it is at a 3 millimeter billet. So this is 5-layer Damascus, Gomai, if you will. That is 3 millimeters in width and 2 inches in diameter. And we have about 9 inches of this. So I'm hoping this is good enough for us to work something very nicely. I'm super excited to do this. And as somebody who likes to make chef knives, so learning from somebody who works in a kitchen, I feel like I really get the exact specifications of what he likes and what he needs to do that. So if we're gonna end up working to make cool chef knives for high-end chefs, this is absolutely the guy that we need to be talking to.
All right, so my name's Bernard Lambotte from Black Sand Knives in San Diego, California, and my handles on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, or wherever else you want to try to find me, is at Black Sand Knives. I'd fallen out of love of doing graphic design and web development. I was kind of in a space in my life where I just felt like I wanted to do something different, and I realized that after well over a decade, a little over a decade and a half of making websites and designing logos, etc., nothing I had ever done still existed.
Yeah.
And that profoundly bugged me, like to the point, I was also kind of sick at the time. I had thyroid imbalance, and I didn't know it yet, and I hadn't been diagnosed. So I was sleeping all day long, feeling tired all the time, and I was unmotivated. And I started watching YouTube videos, thinking to myself, like, I want to do something with my hands again. I want to be able to share something physically that can go beyond me. And so I was looking at furniture, I was looking at welding and painting and all sorts of stuff, and I thought paintings just end up on the wall. Even though you love it, it just ends up being part of the wall after a while. Furniture is a lot of cash to start up to be able to get all of the machinery together, and still I'd only be working with wood. And then I started to think about the fact that as far back as I could think of, probably 5 or 6 years old, I had knives, and I always loved knives. I had fascination with knives, whether it was camping knife, cooking knife, folding knives, etc. And I was like, I wonder if I could make a knife. And so for the next 3 or 4 years, I spent learning how to heat treat, learning how to design, make my own designs. And the very first knives I made were based off of these friction folders that I bought that had these ugly handles but high carbon steel blades. So I reshaped the blades a little bit and made new handles. And then I was like, I'm doing all this, I might as well just heat treat my own steel. So I went to the local shop and bought some O1 tool steel and made myself a little tiny forge, and just built my tools along with me as I went up. And then eventually I was like, I think I'm really falling for this. Got myself my first 2x72, a better forge, and then tried to get into making folders. And the better I was getting, the more frustrated I was that I didn't have a CNC, that I didn't have a mini mill. I was doing everything with like a Harbor Freight drill press, and it just didn't have the level of precision that I needed to make the quality of knives that I wanted. And at that same time, I realized that I really wanted to do nothing but make knives. And so I got to thinking that I needed to be able to make something that was repeatable, that was useful, that I could still care about just as much as making folding knives. And that's where I looked at my background in culinary arts and loving to cook, and I was like, why don't I just make a kitchen knife? So I set out to make a chef knife. That very first one, the 8-inch chef. And when I was finally done with that one, which took about 5 or 6 months to get like the design right and everything balanced, and both in weight and visual, and then I set out to make a whole rest of the set to match it over the next year. And that's how I kind of have gotten to where I am now. When I was 18, my parents said, if you want to live at home and surf every day, then you have to go to school.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you need to go out, get a job, and move out. And so I was like, man, I want to surf every day. And I didn't know what in the world I wanted to go to school for. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I thought, well, I'm artistic and I love to cook, so I'll just become a chef. So I went and got an associate's in the next 2 years, and then I got a job in a restaurant. And 3 months later, a couple of giant calluses on my fingers, waking up every day at 3:30 to work at 4 until 2. And then I was too tired to go surf, and I was missing out on all the swells because, you know, the afternoon the wind comes up and etc. And I was like, man, this isn't what I wanted to do. This isn't. And so I gave up on the idea of cooking professionally, and I went back to school to become a graphic designer.
Okay.
And that was my mom's inspiration. She was like, you need to work with your mind and make money with your mind so that you can keep your health to do all the sports that you love to do. And then I owned my own consultancy for about 10 or 11 years. Took a couple years off. During my divorce, got a full-time job, and then went back to being freelance and self-employed for about 2 years. And then that's when I was like, I'm done with this. And to make ends meet, at first I was driving Uber while making knives, and there was a couple other things, handyman. I did that for about 1.5 years. And then about 3.5 years ago, 3 years ago, I finally got to the point where it was full-time, actually making a living from making knives. Started working on a boat at the same time as a cook, which the owner of the boat gave me freedom of menu. As long as I ran everything by him, the idea was to make clean, good tasting, hearty food that was healthy, as opposed to just meat and potatoes and canned green beans. So which had, you know, since big bluefin is caught at night, and so a lot of the times we'll be fishing through the entire night. The last thing our guests need to do is eat a super big heavy meal. So I had to bring something that, you know, hardcore blue collar workers would still be okay eating and still be enjoying, but yet sneaking things in there that were healthy and good. So my culinary background is somewhat forced, but I've always loved to cook.
Okay.
I'd prefer it to be somewhere hot with great waves. That's correct. I was born in Belgium. The waffle, as Americans think of it, is a misconception.
Okay.
The actual waffle most Americans are used to is actually the waffle from Brussels.
From Brussels, that's in Germany?
No, Brussels, the city of Belgium.
Okay.
And every different city in Belgium has a variation of the waffle that can be everywhere from a waffle like you think of, to a very thin cookie.
Okay.
And so waffle, the word itself, takes on a whole different meaning from place to place within Belgium and even within Holland and France.
Really?
But if you're going to have anything in Belgium for breakfast, it'll be crepes, and it won't be a waffle. If
Really?
it would be a waffle, it's more than likely just going to be a Brussels waffle, which is what's known as the Belgian waffle in America. My two favorite cuisines, hands down, is Mexican food and Thai food. And
Really?
I don't have a number one. I just think that it's whatever you're in the mood for. What's striking to me is how many similarities are shared between Mexican food and Thai food.
Yeah.
If you look at the spices, even to the point where Mexico you have mole and in Thailand you have curry, when in reality they're so similar. They just use different ingredients.
Yeah.
It's not Mexican food. It's Americanized Mexican food. You know, like the burrito was invented in Southern California. It wasn't a Mexico thing.
Really?
Yeah. And
Okay.
like all of these things are street foods that were, you know, it's like kind of like the history of the sandwich. The sandwich was made during industrialization in order for people to have something quick to eat while not having a full sit-down meal so that they could work more. You know, it's like the same thing that like most Mexicans want to sit down and break bread with their tortillas and eat with their hands, not have a rolled up tortilla that they can just stuff their faces for so they can get back to their construction job. Or
So are you saying that capitalism created the burrito?
yes. Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, my man. If you were in the realm of Middle Earth, what race do you think you would be most likely to be?
Oh man, I feel like you would be on the luckier end if you were an elf.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it. Hobbit looks like a very peaceful life though.
Hobbits seem to be like they're really into eating. They're really into growing things. But they seem a little bit lazy. You know, barefoot hippies living in the hills.
I mean, how difficult do you need to make your life if you grow your own food and you have if everything that you have to facilitate your happiness in life is right there? Why work harder and more than you have to?
Yeah, I feel like the Hobbit lifestyle is very much an appreciation for home. You know?
Yeah.
And I really like that.
And I think home or society lived within a village where everyone is interconnected, a bit more like the American Indians living in teepees in a gathering. Even though they were moving from place to place, they always took home with them. They shared that as a community. You know, same thing in smaller European villages in history where everybody in town knew each other. And same thing in America until about 100 and something years ago when everything changed.
Yeah.
I would say you've got the by feel artists that do everything just by touch of hand. They grind their blades by hand. They do every knife kind of one at a time, as though in some ways to give the life of the knife to itself, you know?
Okay.
But then there's other people, like, especially if you look into like the folder, now with folders, it's mathematics. And it's a lot of math involved and a lot of precision, etc. I wanted to figure out how to replicate things so that they were perfect every time. And so Damascus, at least most Damascus, especially even 7 or 8 years ago, you couldn't really get pre-ground, like perfectly ground flat or flat ground Damascus, etc. And so starting from perfect stock for me makes a lot more sense than doing everything by hand.
Okay.
Because also as a graphic designer in my background, my whole thing was spending a lot of time in developing the design so that I get the right rock, you know, the way that the blade rocks against the surface, the way the blade feels in hand, where the point is in reference to my hand while I'm cutting, which will change a lot on how you're going to be able, if you need to get up onto that blade to do tighter work. Because a chef knife, ultimately, it's called a chef knife because it's a one knife do it for all. You know, I can go on a trip on the boat with this, and this will do everything I need to.
Okay.
Like if I have to choose one knife out of everything I've ever made, I'm going to go for my 8-inch chef.
Is when you go on the boat, do you take your own knives like you made?
Yes. In fact, like this right here is pretty much exactly what I will bring on the boat. Chef, 8-inch chef, 5.5-inch petty, was 3.5, now it's 3.25 inch paring knife, and a small vegetable cleaver. The reason I bring this is for two things. One, if the seas get rough, I don't want a pointed blade moving in between my fingers, because if there's a jolt or something else, I have more chances of stabbing myself.
Yeah.
And making salads. Is the more knives you have that you're bringing with you to the kitchen, the more amount of sharp edge you have to work through your time in prep. Before you know, especially because prep is going to take the most amount of your blade work. And then later on in the evening, you might even switch to cheaper knives.
So a couple other chefs that I know are like very particular about their kit, and they'll keep it next to them the entire time.
That's
while
because
they work,
people will steal knives, borrow knives in the kitchen, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard guys tell me, like, oh, I'll never take your knife into the kitchen again. Because somebody borrowed it, and next thing I know, I see a guy with my paring petty knife, like punching through a can.
Oh, that would hurt my feelings so bad.
The reason that happens is because cooks will learn to cook in a kitchen where the knives are resharpened and replaced on a weekly basis. So they get shitty knives, shitty steel, and they just don't care.
Yeah.
They don't know any different. For them, it's faster because it's right there, it's in my hand.
Yeah.
It's just not thinking ahead of like, oh, now you got a Dell knife the rest of the week.
Yeah.
And when it comes to nice knives, yeah, I mean, I would just say, I would think that there would be a culture within the knife industry, the cooking industry, where you just have utter respect for other people's blades and never touch them.
Yeah.
But I've heard that being not being true for many times. Not when I finish a knife, it's not when I sell it. It's when I give it to my customer, or I pack it in the mail and I ship it out, and I know that it's going into a house or it's going into a kitchen somewhere where it's going to make food, make memories, and start a life of its own, start its own story, you know?
Absolutely.
Which is something I love about the high carbon steel, is that you get this patina, you get this color on there that shows that it's a knife that's seen a lot of life. Last part is, because I want to design my knife this way, I actually did the mathematical equation of how much steel is removing, figured out what that volume was, and removed the volume from the handle so that I would have it balanced right on the point where my first finger and my thumb goes. So that way, what this does to the knife is it feels weightless in the hand because it's balanced.
I don't see you doing a lot of Japanese style. It looks like a European French style.
So here's the funny part about knife making. They all converge and they all split off of each other.
Okay.
Up until the 1970s, 1980s, the Japanese were making Japanese knives.
Okay.
In the 1970s and 80s, the Japanese started to emulate French chef knives in Japanese fashion.
Okay.
And now in the 1990s and in the 2000s, you have the European knives.
Is that Kaka?
Or American and European makers that are making Asian style blades.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
So both worlds go in and out of each other. I don't believe that there's if you want to make a Japanese knife, you need to be Japanese. Because you're a Japanese maker and making a Japanese knife. I guess it's kind of ironic to say, but we can make a knife that looks like that emulates the Japanese design, but at the end of the day, it's the maker's design. Because if you think about it, there's thousands of knife makers in Japan.
Yeah.
And every single one of them has their own take on what makes a perfect blade. And in Japanese culture, it's one knife, one use. And that's the biggest misconception about Japanese knives. There was a lot of times when it was just, oh my God, it's warped way too much. What am I going to do? I'm going to make a santoku. And the interesting thing to me is that sometimes my santokus sell faster than my chef knives. And yet it's the exact same template, same design, same blade shape, just a different tip and a shorter length. But repetition to me is key because it's the feel of the knife in hand, and it's the action that is the most important thing to me.
Okay.
I want a tip that is going to bend, literally bend at the tip, so that when you're cutting a vegetable that's oblong, like a yellow squash, you can actually move the tip through the vegetable without the knife feeling stuck straight. It'll actually curve around. This is a 15N20 at about 61 HRC, and you can see the bend in the blade.
Whoa.
Now the reason it's okay to have this much bend is that it's very thick. The other thing is that actually this is a mono steel that didn't have, what's it called, differential heat treat. But still the flexibility is there. Like you look at that tip, it's still not breaking.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And this is, yeah, I'd say 61, 62 HRC.
You do it one more time?
And it is amazingly thin.
That's crazy.
Made, I think the very first kitchen knife I ever made was with a Japanese style handle.
Okay.
Repetition is a big thing for me. So like as I'm making the same blade over and over and over again, you know, I have templates that I use for everything. Like this is a W2 petty 5.5 inch with micarta handles and black G10 pins or black micarta and G10 spacer.
That's very pretty. I thought it was wood. I was going to say bacteria.
No.
Because it's not wood.
Now, that's a misconception as wood, because wood is closed cell.
How do you mean?
Like wood doesn't have it's not an open cell structure. So if they're closed cells, then stuff can't get inside and just stay.
Okay.
So like if you're dirty and you never clean your stuff, then like, yeah, you might have bacteria buildup. But if you just wipe your handle with a little bit of soap and dry it off, it's going to be just fine. My question is, how is it that we've had thousands of years of knife making, and all of a sudden in the last decade, if your wood hasn't been plastified, or what's it called, what's the word, stabilized, then it's not stabilized. What are you talking about? You desert ironwood stabilized. Like, so I tried to find a lot of natural woods that don't have to be stabilized. Oh yeah, the Turkish cleaver, which was invented about 10 years ago by a father and son team that weren't Turkish. There's nothing Turkish about the Turkish cleaver. That's complete marketing bullshit. No, this is going to piss people off. 15N20 is one steel, 1080 is a different steel. They both have separate heat treatment regimens. When you put them together, their carbon actually flows from one steel into the other, so you get somewhat homogeneous steel, but they're still two different steels being blended together. Okay. Not one single edge steel. Yeah. So in some ways, I still believe that like a 1% carbon or higher steel for a mono steel blade is going to be higher performance than 1080 and 15N20. 1080 and 15N20 will make beautiful looking steel, but something that looks beautiful doesn't mean it's functional.
All the Mosaic Damascus chef knife makers out there are going to be like, oh, well, this actually...
Well, yeah, well, yes and no, because like Dr. Larkin has done the tests and has shown that the carbon leaks from one steel into the other when it's been folded enough and when it's heat treated. And so you have the same amount of carbon about between both steels when you have the final hardened steel. But it's still 1080. Yeah. It's not W2. It's not 26C3. It's not a 1% tectoidal steel that is going to have a higher percent carbon, that's going to have better wear resistance and keep an edge longer. And the reason I know this is because I've had the exact same geometry blades in my kitchen for years of the different steel, 5920, 1080 separately, and 26C3 and W2, and 26C3 and W2 have outperformed both of the other steels in every condition that I've done it.
You know,
From 61 HRC to 65 HRC, my 26C3 for me is my favorite steel out of everything.
really?
Yeah, 26C3 hands down. I like it better in a kitchen knife than anything else I've worked with.
Does that forge weld very well?
As far as I know, I don't see why it wouldn't.
Yeah.
You know, it just depends on how little you can, how much you can minimize the amount of oxygen oxidizing the steel before you're able to get them welded together. You can tell.
Yeah, that's perfect.
That's good. All right, finishing welds, or something like that. I say that, and I'm probably going to end up having to come back on it. All right, we're getting there.
All right.
Mess over here.
Okay, so we have the profile of the blade cut out. Thank you so much. And what we decided to do was go for a Santoku style with a K-tip. Now, you've never done that before, have you?
No, I haven't. This is my, I mean, we're basing the blade edge on the belly of one of my designs, and then the rest we're basing off of the thickness of the size of the billet.
It's gorgeous. And if you look really close here, I don't know if you could see it, the etch, the camera's on this side, actually shows the core steel and the cladding very, very nicely. So I think this is gonna not only make a really nice knife, but I think when it comes to the etching and all of that, it's gonna
be gorgeous.
It's gonna be very pretty.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where this ends up with.
Yeah, I know we didn't get to it today though, but
oh well, it's all part of the adventure.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna leave that here with you, and then I guess I'll come back next week and see where we're at.
Sweet, man. Well, dude, thank you.
Thank you so much, man.
It's been
that was
pleasure,
awesome.
Man.